All right, we turn now to Florida, where George Zimmerman is back in the headlines again, this time for allegedly threatening his estranged wife. NBC's Kerry Sanders is in Lake Mary with details on this. Hi, Kerry.
Well, good morning, Matt. Shelley Zimmerman filed for divorce from her husband, George Zimmerman, 5 days ago. On Monday, police were called to her father's house where there was some sort of confrontation. Now, as common in divorces, both sides are now pointing fingers at each other. And there is still this morning a little bit of confusion as whether George Zimmerman was armed, as police first believed he was.
I don't know what he's capable of. I'm really scared.
Shelley Zimmerman called 911 just after 2 in the afternoon on Monday to say George Zimmerman was outside her father's house in a car and police protection was needed right away.
He's in his car and he continually has his hand on his gun and he keeps saying, step closer. He's just threatening all of us with his firearms. And he's going to shoot us.
She said Zimmerman had accosted her father.
He punched my dad in the nose. My dad has a mark on his face.
Zimmerman was briefly detained by police and questioned. Initially, Lake Mary police said they confiscated a gun from Zimmerman. But late Monday, a spokesman for the department clarified, saying that information was wrong.
We never had contact with a weapon. We never touched the weapon. We don't know that there's even a weapon here.
Zimmerman attorney Mark O'Mara said in an interview Zimmerman did have a gun, but said there was never any threatening with a firearm, and the 911 tape was a case of heightened emotions.
I think everybody got a little bit out of hand. I think there may have been some pushing and touching. That happens a lot in divorce situations.
Police said after investigating, Shelley Zimmerman's father had no apparent injuries.
The fire department came in and took a look at him, and he didn't have anything obvious.
We, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
Since his acquittal on second-degree murder and manslaughter charges in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman has continued to make headlines, stopping to help victims of an auto accident in Sanford, Florida.
What a coincidence.
Stopped for speeding in Texas, but let go with a warning. Posing for pictures as he toured the factory where the gun used in the Trayvon Martin case was manufactured. Then, just last week, stopped once again for speeding in Lake Mary.
Sorry.
Nobody was arrested in Monday's incident, and police say no charges are being filed.
They're getting divorced. They really shouldn't have contact right now. So, no, it's obviously they need to just sort of stay away from each other, keep things calm, and work through the attorneys.
The officers who responded had cameras on the dashes of their cruisers as well as wearing cameras on their chests. That will be part of the public record and may be released as early as today. Also, inside Shelley Zimmerman's father's house, they have a security camera system. Police have confiscated that to see if it jives with what Shelley Zimmerman told them in that 911 call. Matt, Savannah.
All right, Kerry, thank you very much. Lisa Bloom is today's legal analyst. Lisa, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's be clear here. In a case of alleged domestic violence, the police have a right to make an arrest even if the alleged victim of that violence doesn't want an arrest to be made.
That's right, Matt, because it's very common for domestic violence victims to recant their story, if indeed there was domestic violence here. And there were several witnesses allegedly to this incident. There's Shelley Zimmerman's father. There's a city worker that she refers to on the 911 call. There's George Zimmerman's bodyguard. So all of those people should be interviewed, and the security cameras should be reviewed to see what they show.
And as a point of law here, we now know from George Zimmerman's lawyer, Mark O'Mara, that there was a gun in the possession of George Zimmerman. He has a permit, by the way, to carry that weapon. But what does the law say about what would be considered threatening with a weapon? If that gun never left a holster, could it be used as a threat?
Absolutely. If he's patting the gun and indicating that he's going to use it in any kind of an improper way, that's brandishing, that's criminal harassment, and that would be a crime. You know, ironically, it's perfectly legal for him to walk around with a concealed weapon. What's not legal is for him to take it out and use it, refer to it, or threaten anyone with it.
I think the point in the story that was made, this is not a legal point, this is a common sense point. It would be best under these circumstances for these two to simply stay away from each other.
Well, that's right. They don't have restraining orders against each other, but that would be advisable. And let's also remember that Shelley Zimmerman has recently pleaded guilty to perjury, so her credibility is probably an issue that the police are looking at as well.
Lisa Bloom in Los Angeles this morning. Lisa, thanks very much.